As Lana stood in the altar, heart pounding and eyes locked on the man he was about to marry, she had no idea that in the next few moments her entire world would be turned upside down by a secret so shocking it would leave everyone around her gasping. What would you do if the love of your life was hiding a truth that could change everything? Keep watching to find out, and before we dive into this gripping story, let us know in the comments where you are watching from. We'd love to hear from viewers all around the world. Lana was a hardworking young woman who lived in Nairobi, Kenya. She worked as a librarian in the city, helping people find books and keeping everything organized. Lana loved her job. She got to meet people from all over and help them find answers in books. She was kind-hearted and always willing to help those in need. Lana didn't make much money, but she was happy with her life. One day, a man started coming to the library regularly. His name was Luke. He was a musician who played in small bars and local events around the city. Luke was a white man who always wore simple, sometimes even worn-out clothes. He looked like he didn't have much, but he had a warm smile that made Lana feel comfortable around him. They would talk whenever he came by, and little by little, Lana found herself looking forward to his visits. After a few weeks, Luke asked Lana to join him for coffee after work. She was surprised but happy to go. Over coffee, they talked about their lives and dreams. Luke told her how he was struggling to make a living as a musician. He mentioned he didn't have much money and often found himself just scraping by. Lana felt a pang of sympathy. She knew what it was like to struggle. Soon, their casual coffee dates turned into something more special, and they started spending a lot of time together. Luke and Lana became inseparable. They went on walks through the local parks, watched movies in tiny theaters, and had long talks over simple meals. Luke didn't have much money, so they couldn't afford fancy dates, but Lana didn't mind at all. She loved his company. He was funny, kind, and always made her feel important. Sometimes Luke would ask Lana for a bit of money, maybe to cover a meal or help with gas money for his motorcycle. She didn't mind helping him because she knew he was struggling and believed he'd do the same for her if the situation were reversed. They talked about their dreams and hopes. Lana wanted to go back to school someday, maybe to become a teacher. Luke shared that he dreamed of one day recording his own music album, though it was hard without money or connections. Their lives weren't easy, but they dreamed big together. Lana felt lucky to have found someone who didn't care about her background or financial situation. Luke made her feel seen and loved for who she was. After a year of dating, Luke surprised her by proposing. He didn't have a fancy ring or a big plan. They were just sitting in a quiet garden when he suddenly got down on one knee and asked her to be his wife. Lana was thrilled. She said yes without a second thought, overjoyed at the idea of spending her life with the man she loved. Luke told Lana he wanted a small, simple wedding. He explained that his family was very traditional and might not approve of his career choice, so he thought it would be best if they didn't come to the wedding. Lana thought it was strange that he hadn't told his family about her or invited them, but she trusted him. He said his family was complicated and she didn't want to cause him any trouble. As they planned the wedding, she realized she knew very little about his family. Every time she asked, he would brush it off, saying it wasn't important. She wanted to meet them, to know more about his life, but Luke always changed the subject. Still, Lana pushed those worries aside, trusting that love was enough to make everything work out. They decided on a small church in a quiet part of town for their wedding. Lana bought a simple, elegant dress, and everything felt like a dream coming true. On the day of the wedding, Lana was both nervous and excited. She walked down the aisle in her dress, holding a bouquet of white flowers, feeling like the luckiest woman alive. But as she looked around, she realized the church was full of people she'd never met. Some of them were dressed in very fancy clothes, and their expressions were hard to read. She felt their eyes on her, studying her as if she were out of place. When Luke walked in, he looked different. He was wearing a sleek tuxedo that looked very expensive. Lana had never seen him dressed like this before. The ceremony began, but throughout it, Lana felt a strange tension in the air. She noticed people whispering, glancing at her, and some even seemed surprised. She didn't understand what was happening, but she kept her focus on Luke, reminding herself that this was her special day. After the ceremony, the whispers grew louder. Lana overheard a woman say, "I didn't know he was marrying a black woman," and another man replied, "How will his family accept this?" Lana's heart began to race. She hadn't known that this was even an issue. After the ceremony, Lana pulled Luke aside. She felt overwhelmed and demanded to know why people were acting so strangely. Luke took a deep breath and admitted the truth. He told her that he wasn't poor at all. In fact, his family was extremely wealthy. They owned a large company and he had grown up in luxury. But he had never told Lana because he wanted her to love him for who he was, not his money. Lana was shocked. All this time, she thought he was struggling just like her. She had helped him financially, trusted him completely, and now she learned that he had been lying to her about his life. She felt hurt and betrayed. How could he keep something so big a secret? Luke tried to explain, saying he didn't want his family's money or his background to change the way she saw him. He was afraid that if she knew the truth, she might not love him the same way. He also admitted he was worried his family wouldn't accept her, as they had their own beliefs and prejudices. He'd thought it would be easier to keep her away from his family until they were already married. After Luke's confession, Lana felt humiliated. She had walked down the aisle believing one story, only to find out it was a lie. She looked around and saw his family members, who had come to the wedding after all, watching her with mixed reactions. Some looked surprised, others seemed uncomfortable, and a few were whispering to each other, clearly disapproving. She felt like she was under a spotlight, with everyone judging her. Luke's parents came over to introduce themselves, but the conversation was awkward. His mother was polite but distant, while his father barely looked at her. Lana could feel their judgment, and it hurt deeply. She felt as though she wasn't enough for them because of her background and her skin color. She'd always believed in love, but this situation made her question everything. She wondered if Luke truly understood the position he had put her in, or if he'd ever considered her feelings when hiding the secret. In the days following the wedding, Luke tried to apologize. He kept telling Lana that he loved her and had only hidden his family's wealth because he wanted a true connection. But Lana was conflicted. She loved Luke, but she couldn't ignore the pain of his deception. She had trusted him completely, and now she wasn't sure if she could get that trust back. Luke promised to stand by her and to protect her from any negative reactions from his family. He said he was willing to give up his inheritance if it meant being with her. Lana appreciated his words, but she still felt deeply hurt. She needed time to think and decide if she could move forward with him. After all, marriage was supposed to be built on trust and honesty, and she wasn't sure if they had that anymore. Lana decided to take some time alone to think about her future. She still loved Luke, but she needed to heal and consider what she truly wanted. Luke had promised to wait as long as it took, and he assured her he would do everything to earn her trust back. Lana knew that, whatever decision she made, she would be stronger and wiser. In the end, Lana realized that love could be complicated and filled with challenges. Whether she stayed with Luke or moved on, she promised herself one thing: she would always seek honesty and respect in her relationships. Her heart was bruised but not broken, and she would find her path forward on her own terms. After a few weeks of soul-searching, Lana made a decision. She met with Luke at their favorite garden, the same spot where he had proposed. Looking into his eyes, she told him that she still loved him and wanted to give their marriage a real chance. But she made it clear that they needed to rebuild their trust and that he'd have to be fully honest from now on. She also wanted him to take a stand for her in front of his family, to make sure they knew he was serious about their relationship and that she deserved their respect. Luke promised to do all this and suggested they cut communication with his family because they've made it clear that she will never be accepted. Lana's eyes quickly filled with tears. She was sad to hear this, but happy that her man loved her regardless. They hugged tightly, both feeling hopeful for the future. With love, honesty, and patience, Lana was ready to work through the challenges ahead, together. If this story moved you as much as it moved us, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to never miss an emotional story like this one. And don't forget to comment below where you're watching from. We'd love to connect with you.